Have you ever imagined what it would be like, not just to live with someone, but to live as one with them? Not for an hour, not for a season, but for an entire lifetime. Two minds, two beating hearts, two completely different personalities, yet just one body, one vessel, to breathe, to dream, to grow, together. It might sound like a science fiction story, but for some people this is reality. They're called conjoined twins, a rare phenomenon written into existence by a twist of biology that defies the norm. And behind the headlines and medical marvels lie deeply human stories. Stories of strength, love, heartbreak, and hope. Stories that challenge what it means to be whole, what it means to be free, and what it truly means to be connected. In this documentary, we'll take you on an extraordinary journey through the lives of 15 incredible sets of conjoined twins, from those who defied every odd just to survive, to those who changed the world simply by being themselves. These are not just stories about bodies, they're stories about courage, about resilience, and about the powerful beauty that can exist when two souls share one life. Abby and Brittany, two minds, one body. In 1990, in a small town in Minnesota, a pair of baby girls entered the world and instantly rewrote the rules of what it means to live life together. Abby and Brittany Hensel were born with two heads, but only one body. From the chest down, they are one, but above the shoulders, they are two entirely separate people. Two brains, two hearts, two voices, and two ways of seeing the world. Doctors were stunned. Scientists were curious. But for Abby and Brittany, this was simply life. From the moment they could crawl, they learned to move as one. Abby controls the right side, Brittany the left. Every step, every movement, every heartbeat, perfectly choreographed through trust and instinct. They walk, they ride bikes, they swim, they even drive. Not just together, but in sync. And though they share a body, their personalities couldn't be more different. Abby is bold, sporty, outspoken. Brittany is more reflective, calm, and thoughtful. But instead of clashing, they balance one another with patience, humor, and a quiet kind of grace. Their family never treated them like a spectacle. They went to school, made friends, played sports, chased dreams, just like any other kids. And when they graduated college, they became elementary school teachers, together. Today, they teach math in a shared classroom. Their students see them not as a curiosity, but as a living lesson in cooperation, compassion, and strength. Abby and Brittany don't ask for pity. They ask to be seen as two young women living one extraordinary life with joy, purpose, and an unbreakable bond that continues to inspire the world. Carmen and Lupita, united in body, free in spirit. Carmen and Lupita Andrade were born in Mexico and raised in Connecticut, USA. From the chest to the pelvis, their bodies are one. They share a digestive system, a circulatory system, and reproductive organs. But don't let that fool you, because these two are as different and as individual as it gets. Carmen controls the right leg, Lupita the left. Every movement they make requires total coordination, a constant, silent dance that only they know how to perform. But what makes them truly remarkable isn't how they move, it's how they live. Carmen is bold, extroverted, funny. She speaks fast, laughs loud, and lights up a room. Lupita is quiet, thoughtful, more introspective, the kind of soul who notices the little things. Together, they create a rhythm that's uniquely their own. They don't just coexist, they thrive. They go to college, they play piano, they love animals, and they share their lives on social media, not for attention, but to normalize something that's anything but typical. On YouTube and Instagram, thousands follow their story, Not because they're conjoined, but because they're real. They joke, they vent, they educate. They don't sugarcoat the challenges, but they also don't let those challenges define them. Carmen and Lupita remind us that freedom isn't just about space. It's about choice, about embracing who you are, fully, unapologetically, even if you happen to share your body with someone else. Joy and Joyce, defying the odds in the Philippines voiceover, intimate, emotional, with quiet strength. When Joy and Joyce Maxino were born in the Philippines, the delivery room fell silent. The two newborn girls were joined at the head, a rare and incredibly complex form of conjoined twins known as craniopagus. They shared parts of their skull, and doctors feared the worst. Most believed they wouldn't live to see their 10th birthday. But Joy and Joyce had other plans. Raised in a humble home full of love, they grew stronger with each passing day. From the beginning, they developed their own quiet way of communicating, a deep, almost wordless bond that helped them navigate a world not built for two minds sharing one head. Their mother worked tirelessly, even leaving the country to earn money overseas, hoping one day to fund a risky separation surgery that could give them a different kind of future. The cost? Over $75,000, a fortune for the family. But in the end, they chose not to go through with it. Not because they gave up, but because they realized they didn't need to be separated to be happy. Today, Joy and Joyce share glimpses of their life on social media, dancing, joking, sharing everyday moments that feel ordinary, yet extraordinary. They don't hide their reality, they embrace it. And with every smile, every video, they remind the world, you don't need to be normal to live a beautiful life. They dream of raising enough funds to revisit the possibility of surgery someday. But until then, they are simply living. Side by side, head to head, heart to heart. They may be physically joined, but their spirit, unbreakable, joyful, full of light, runs free. Krista and Tatiana, when two brains are one. Krista and Tatiana Hogan were born in 2006 in the small Canadian town of Vernon. At first glance, they appeared to be craniopagus twins, conjoined at the head. But what made them truly extraordinary wasn't what you could see from the outside. Inside, their brains were connected by the thalamus, a deep central structure responsible for processing everything we feel, see, hear, and touch. That connection changed everything. When Krista sees something, Tatiana knows what it is, even without looking. When one of them is tickled, the other laughs. Pain, emotion, taste, sight, shared in ways science still can't fully explain. Doctors call it a neurological mystery. The girls, they just call it life. They giggle, bicker, play with their siblings, go to school, like any other kids. But their world is unlike any other. It's intuitive, it's layered, it's almost telepathic. At birth, they were given less than a 20% chance of survival, but somehow they made it. Not just surviving, but thriving. Happy, curious, full of questions and love. Separation is not an option. It would cost them their lives. But for Krista and Tatiana, that's never been a source of sorrow. Because what they share isn't a limitation, it's a bond. One body, two souls, and one bridge between their minds. A rare and beautiful glimpse into what it means to be truly connected. Chivnat and Shivram, together until the end. In a remote village in India, two boys came into the world joined at the waist. Their names were Chivnat and Shivram, two brothers, two hearts, one body. They shared a single pair of legs, and from the beginning their lives demanded perfect coordination. Every step, every turn, every choice made in unison. Many saw them as a burden, but they saw each other as a blessing. Their organs were deeply intertwined. Only their hearts, lungs, and minds were truly their own. When a team of doctors once offered a free surgery to separate them, the brothers declined, not out of fear, but out of conviction. "We've always been together," they said, "and that's how we want it to stay." They lived a quiet life, not one of fame, but of deep resilience. They learned to move through the world as one, adapting to challenges most of us couldn't imagine. But behind the scenes, their story was marked by hardship. Their father abandoned them. Even the money meant for their medication disappeared. And when illness came, it came slowly, then all at once. Their fragile health faded, and one day, without headlines or noise, they passed, together, just as they had lived. Only after their death did the world hear their story, through a grainy video clip where the boys spoke with startling clarity about injustice, struggle, and hope. They had no riches, no spotlight, no miracles, but what they had was each other. And sometimes, that's all it takes to live a life full of meaning. Manar Maged, the girl with a second face. In 2004, in a hospital in Cairo, Egypt, a baby girl was born. At first glance, she looked like any other newborn. But then the doctor saw what no one expected, a second face. Growing from the top of her head, it had eyes that blinked, a nose that moved, a mouth that could smile but never speak. Her name was Manar Maged. The second face wasn't alive in the way she was. It was part of a rare condition known as craniopagus parasiticus, a parasitic twin that had failed to fully develop, but remained physically attached. Manar's tiny body was under constant stress. Her heart and brain worked overtime, trying to sustain more than they were built for. Every day, her life hung in delicate balance. In 2005, with the world watching, a team of Egyptian surgeons attempted the impossible. A 14-hour operation to remove the parasitic head. It was one of the most daring surgeries ever performed. And they succeeded. For a brief moment, Manar became a symbol of hope. News outlets across the globe called it a miracle. But miracles are fragile things. Less than a year later, Manar died from a severe brain infection, quietly, far from the headlines that once lit up her name. She was only 2 years old. But in that short time, she showed the world what courage looks like in its smallest, purest form. Manar didn't speak. She didn't grow old. But her story speaks volumes about medical bravery, about fragility, and about how even the briefest life can leave a lasting light. Daisy and Violet, stars of the Sideshow, England, 1908. In a time when the world had little room for difference, 2 baby girls were born joined at the hip and spine. Their names were Daisy and Violet Hilton. They never chose the spotlight, it was forced upon them. Given up by their mother at birth, they were taken in by Mary Hilton, a bar owner who saw not children, but profit. By the time they could walk, Daisy and Violet were being paraded through pubs and fairs, marketed as a spectacle, a curiosity, a miracle of nature. They danced, sang, and played instruments for crowds that stared, while behind the curtain, they lived a life of control and confinement. Their earnings filled the pockets of others. Their voices were silenced. But Daisy and Violet weren't just performers. They were survivors. As adults, they fought back and won their legal independence. For the first time, they could choose their own path. They toured the vaudeville circuit, starred in films, and even became a part of Hollywood history with the cult classic Freaks. They were never rich. but they were finally free, at least as free as society would allow. Daisy and Violet lived into their 60s, a remarkable age for conjoined twins in their era. They died within days of each other, still together, as they had always been. Their story is a song, soft, bittersweet, full of longing and resilience. A reminder that even in the harshest spotlight, art can grow. And even when the world tries to define you, you can still claim your own story. Laleh and Ladan, dying to be themselves. They were born in Iran in 1974, two distinct minds, two determined hearts, joined by fate and by the head. Laleh and Ladan Bajani were conjoined twins, connected not just by blood vessels and bone, but by a lifetime of compromises. One body, one path, no choice. But from an early age, they pushed back against that fate. Laleh was outspoken, lively, sharp. Ladan was calm, contemplative, steady. They loved differently, thought differently, and more than anything, they wanted to live differently. Both women studied law. They worked at the courthouse. They smiled in public, but in private, a single dream burned: to be seen as individuals, to live, at last, apart. In 2003, they traveled to Singapore, to one of the most advanced medical centers in the world. There, an international team of neurosurgeons and specialists took on the impossible, a separation surgery that would last over 50 hours. The risk? Immense. But for Laleh and Ladan, the greater risk was never trying. They didn't want fame. They didn't want pity. They wanted to choose their own future, to walk different roads, to look in different mirrors. But their bodies couldn't survive the blood loss. The surgery failed, and they both died, not from illness, but in pursuit of the right to live freely. Their story is tragic, but it's also brave. They couldn't choose how they were born, but they chose how they would live, and how they would die, with courage, with dignity, and with a longing to be whole, not in body, but in identity. Ronnie and Donnie, the longest-living conjoined twins. Ronnie and Donnie Gallion were born in 1951 in Dayton, Ohio. Two boys, joined from the sternum down to the pelvis, one pair of legs, two hearts, and a bond that would last a lifetime. From the very beginning, doctors said they wouldn't live long, but they proved everyone wrong and went on to become the longest-living conjoined twins in recorded history. Life wasn't easy. Their family was poor. Public school wouldn't take them in. So they did what many in their situation had to do. They joined the Sideshow circuit. For decades, Ronnie and Donnie traveled across the US, Mexico, and South America, earning a living by being stared at. But they never saw themselves as victims. They watched, they listened, they learned. And through it all, they stayed brothers first, performers second. In 1991, they retired, and for the first time, they had a place to call their own, a small, custom-built house in Dayton. They shared a living room, a kitchen, and a special double wheelchair they used to get around town. They watched baseball, they went to church, they argued like old men, and they laughed like kids who never really left each other's side. Ronnie and Donnie passed away in 2020 at the age of 68, together as they had always been. Their story isn't one of fame or fortune. It's one of quiet perseverance, of dignity and simplicity, and of a brotherhood so deep that it needed no words. They didn't live despite their connection. They lived through it. And maybe that's what made their life so full. Not what they lacked, but what they never let go of: each other. Neev and Nelly, a mirror between two souls. Neev and Nelly were born in Suriname and raised in the Netherlands. Two teenage girls, two bright minds, joined at the back of the head, a condition so rare it occurs in only a tiny handful of births worldwide. They are craniopagus twins. Each has her own brain, her own thoughts, her own inner world. But a single vital artery connects them, so deeply and so delicately that separation is medically impossible. From birth, doctors gave them little hope. But year after year, they kept defying expectations. They've never been able to look each other in the eye, except through a mirror. But somehow, they've always seen each other more clearly than most ever could. Neev and Nelly are different in all the ways that matter. One loves fashion, the other prefers books. They bicker, they tease, they finish each other's sentences. Like any sisters, just a little closer. Now in their teens, they share their story on social media, not for attention, but to be understood. They speak openly about their challenges, but what they want most is recognition. Not as one, but as two. We have different thoughts, different opinions, they say. We just want people to see that. In a world that often pushes for separation, definition, and conformity, Neev and Nelly offer something softer and braver. They show us that you can live in one body and still be wholly yourself. That identity isn't about physical space. It's about voice. It's about presence. It's about having someone who knows you completely, even when you can't turn to face them. Trúc and Diệu, a miracle in Vietnam. In July of 2019, in a hospital in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, two baby girls came into the world. Joined from the chest to the pelvis, their bodies intricately intertwined. Their names were Trúc and Diệu. They shared parts of their digestive system, their urinary tract, even reproductive organs. Doctors knew from the beginning, if they were ever to live independently, it would take more than just science. It would take faith. For an entire year, nearly 100 doctors, nurses, and specialists planned every detail, hour by hour, organ by organ, risk by risk. And then, on July 15, 2020, the nation held its breath. In a marathon 13-hour surgery, a team of Vietnam's top surgeons worked hand in hand across 9 departments, guided by hope, skill, and the quiet determination to make the impossible possible. When it was over, the news spread like wildfire. The girls had been successfully separated. The country rejoiced. Strangers wept. Images of two tiny hands reaching for each other from two separate beds became a national symbol of strength, of love, of what can happen when people believe in something bigger than fear. But that was only the beginning. There were months of therapy, tentative first steps, tiny milestones that felt monumental. Today, Trúc and Diệu are growing, learning, laughing, side by side, but free. They are more than a medical triumph. They are a living testament to what we can overcome. When science meets heart, when a nation rallies behind its children, and when miracles are made by human hands. Kendra and Maliyah, the painful path to freedom. Kendra and Maliyah Heron were born in Utah, USA, in 2002. Conjoined twins, joined from the pelvis down. They shared a liver, a large intestine, a bladder, and 3 kidneys between them. Only 2 of those kidneys worked, and even they were barely enough. Their parents were faced with a choice no parent should ever have to make: leave their daughters conjoined, with increasing medical risks, or attempt a separation that could cost one, or both, their lives. In 2006, after years of prayers and sleepless nights, the family made their decision. At just 4 years old, Kendra and Maliyah underwent a 26-hour surgery that would forever change the course of their lives. When they woke, they were apart, for the first time. Kendra had no functioning kidney. She needed months of dialysis until her mother donated one of her own. Maliyah kept one kidney. Both girls had to learn to move, walk, balance, all over again. Years of physical therapy followed. Prosthetics, wheelchairs, falls, frustration, but also small victories, first steps, first jokes, first moments of independence. They documented their journey online, not for sympathy, but to show the world what resilience truly looks like. Today, they are two strong, smart, confident young women. They attend school, laugh with friends, dream big. Their story isn't just about separation. It's about what comes after. It's about parents who gave everything, about daughters who kept going, and about how the hardest path is sometimes the one that leads you home to yourself. Pin and Pan, together by choice. In a small province of Thailand called Nakhon Sawan, two little girls were born side by side and never separated. Their names are Pin and Pan Rampoyan. From the waist down, they are one. They share legs, a pelvis, and parts of their digestive system. But from the moment they took their first breath, they've done everything together. Not because they had to, but because they chose to. Pin controls the right leg, Pan controls the left. Every step they take is a perfect partnership, a rhythm they've known since before they could talk. They crawl, they climb stairs, they ride a tricycle, they even dress themselves with style. To watch them move is to witness something quietly amazing, like a dance only they know the steps to. Their personalities couldn't be more different. One likes long hair, the other short. They wear different outfits, sing different songs, love different games, but their bond is unshakable. When doctors offered the possibility of separation, they didn't hesitate. "We want to stay together," they said. "We're happy this way." There was no fear in their answer, just peace. A quiet certainty that their connection is not a problem to fix, but a part of who they are. Pin and Pan remind us that closeness is not always a burden. Sometimes it's a choice, a joyful one. And in a world that often pushes for independence at all costs, their story offers something softer, the power of staying together, because it feels like home. Callie and Carter, two hearts, one rhythm. In Idaho, USA, twin babies named Callie and Carter Torres came into the world, joined from the chest to the pelvis. They shared a liver, part of their pelvis, and just one pair of legs. But they had two heads, two beating hearts, and two bright, joyful souls. When their parents, Chelsea and Nick, first learned of the condition, the fear was overwhelming. But they chose hope. They chose love. And most of all, they chose to see the beauty in the life that was theirs to hold. Doctors told them a separation would be too dangerous, so Callie and Carter grew up together, not as a tragedy, but as a song. They learned to crawl in harmony, took their first steps in a shared little outfit, laughed at the same cartoons, argued over crayons, shared birthdays, kisses, and sleepy giggles at bedtime. Callie loves music, Carter loves to paint. They have different moods, different likes, different sparks, and yet, somehow, they move to the same rhythm. To the world, they may be a rare medical case, but to their family, they're just Callie and Carter, a pair of happy, beautiful kids who light up every room they roll into. They don't need to be separated to feel whole. They don't need two sets of feet to run after life, because what they have is a bond deeper than bone. Two hearts, one rhythm, and a life filled not with what's missing, but with everything that matters. Each of these stories is different bodies, different journeys, different battles quietly fought and bravely lived. And yet, they all share something unspoken, a thread of strength, a defiance of limits, a reminder that wholeness was never about symmetry, but about soul. Some of these twins chose to stay together. Some risked everything to live apart. Some are no longer with us, and some are just beginning to write their future. But all of them show us one simple, powerful truth. You don't have to be separate to be complete. You don't need to look like others to live fully. And the measure of a life isn't found in the shape of a body, but in how that life is loved, shared, and embraced. In a world that often chases perfection, these lives whisper something more real. That beauty lives in the bond between two people, that courage comes in all forms, and that to be human, truly human, is to live with heart and to never live alone.